CeeDee Lamb wants $35 million per year. Shady, what are you doing?
Yo, it's hot as hell in here, man.
It's hot, ain't it?
I'm trying to talk ball.
Straight up and down.
In football, we get a water, we get the oxygen. Like, what's up, man? What you got going on here?
Look, honestly, if you're at home watching this in the comfort of your own air condition, turn it down for our sake because it's hot in here. But we still doing the show for y'all. Jack, I want to start with you, big dog. You played, I think, 15 years in the National Football League. That's a long time. So an honor to hear from you, probably the most insightful anybody can be on this topic. CeeDee Lamb, he's holding out. The saga, is it hurting the Cowboys more, Jack, or is it hurting CeeDee more?
I think it's hurting the Cowboys, man. Let's be honest, man. Let's make the main thing the main thing.
Which is what?
CeeDee Lamb, he's deserving of getting paid. The big contract, the numbers, the stats. I mean, he's done everything. At the end of the day, I'm a guy. Can I get paid like I deserve to get paid? I mean, let's look at their roster. I mean, you have Brandon Cooks, you have Jalen Tolbert, Turpin. I mean, who are you going to throw to? Where's the offense? You got Ezekiel back. I mean, you got Deuce Vaughn, which I kind of like, but you don't have no production. Where's the production at? We got to get this guy in here. I'm kind of disappointed at Jerry Jones. This is hurting the Cowboys without a doubt.
Strong take. Let me push back. Now, Shady, obviously, I know where you stand. Jack, I was doing a lot of homework on this topic this morning, not just for my counterparts sitting next to me, for y'all at home. We always say the team's getting hurt. 2-5, that's what we say. The team is getting hurt. But I got to remind y'all, we've seen this before. Don't show the full screen just yet, Colvin and those in the production room. Nick Bosa held out last year. Chris Jones held out last year. Saquon Barkley held out last year. Josh Jacobs held out last year. Sure, it hurt all of their teams, but who did it hurt first and foremost? Now let me show y'all the production. On average, Bosa, Jones, Barkley, Jacobs, they had a 42% drop-off in their production. Nick Bosa went from Defensive Player of the Year, 18.5 sacks to 10.5. Chris Jones, 15.5 sacks to 10.5. Saquon Barkley, 1,300 yards to 960. Josh Jacobs, leading 1,600 yards to 805. Family, sure, it hurt all of their teams, but it hurt the players just as much. A 42% drop-off in production. CeeDee Lamb had 1,749 yards last year. If he were to lose 42% of his yards, he would only have 1,014 yards this season if he were simply to follow the trends of the other superstar players that missed time last year. What I submit for your consideration is simple. Yes, the Cowboys are being hurt, but the star players get hurt as well when they miss camp because they are not in playing shape. It takes 2 to 3 to 4 games to get back in playing shape. Cowboys fans, you will know this, but I suggest this for the rest of the world. When Zeke Elliott missed camp, Dave Helman, was it 2019? 2019, Ezekiel Elliott missed camp. His first game back, he had 18 carries for 53 yards. Abysmal. Because he didn't have his legs under him. So while the Cowboys might be getting hurt, Dave, what I suggest very simply is if CeeDee Lamb has a decline in production because of his lack of camp and his lack of getting in shape, it hurts CD just as much, if not more.
This is why I love doing live TV, because I had a different thing in mind, but can we go back?
Bring up my numbers,
Can
please.
we go back to the numbers?
My numbers for my dog Dave,
Let me see if that's, okay, all right. Let's just go through this. So, and you're right, their numbers did drop. So Nick Bosa made it to a Super Bowl. He still got his money, right?
Yes, sir, he did. That happened.
Chris Jones won a Super Bowl.
He did.
And the Chiefs actually got rid of L'Jarius Sneed so they could give him a new deal. He's one of the highest paid players in football.
That did happen.
Saquon Barkley
got a little bit of bread from the Eagles.
Got a nice contract with a better team.
Talk to him, Dave.
Josh Jacobs got a nice contract with a better team. I think Josh Jacobs is due for a bounce back in a big year. I think people are sleeping on how good of a player he is. All those dudes are just fine, in my opinion. Like, even knowing that their numbers took a little bit of a dip, they wound up in perfectly good situations. And that's what will happen to CeeDee Lamb, too, because he's one of the 5 or 6 best receivers in the NFL, even if his numbers do dip. And you should be worried if you're a Cowboy fan. The longer this goes, you should be worried. I mean, DeSean did an amazing job of pointing out what is the proven production.
There you go.
Other than, I'll give you Jake Ferguson. I think he's a hell of a tight end.
Good player.
Other than him, there's not much there. But on top of that, even if CeeDee Lamb comes back at this point, your criticism about not having his legs, not being in good condition, it's very valid. But at the end of the day, who's that going to hurt? The Dallas Cowboys. It's going to hurt them as a team because their hopes of having a top 5, 8, 10 offense hinge on CeeDee Lamb being in the lineup and being ready to contribute. At the end of the day, CeeDee is going to get paid. And even if his numbers dip a little bit, we all know that he is still one of the best receivers in this game. He's going to be just fine. It's the Cowboys that'll be in trouble.
2-5, you smirking. Why?
It's just funny because you're showing these numbers as if you on the Cowboy side as the ownership, right? Now, we asked him about, like, okay, so you had these numbers, and then you hold out in camp, and then they drops. Who? Why are we dropping? Why they dropping, Acho? You just said Bosa, Chris Jones. Why they dropping? What you think it is?
I do not think the players were ready to start the season in maximal.
And why is that, Acho? My boy said the main thing is the main thing. So let's go to the main thing. The main thing is, if you pay these dudes, right, they're going to be ready for camp. They're going to be in shape. They're going to be ready to get hit, get tackled, et cetera, et cetera. So for you not paying CeeDee Lamb, that's the issue. Now he's going to come into camp or to a game not ready. But let's talk about the bigger picture, though.
What is it?
If I'm Jerry Jones, I go to Oklahoma and I draft this kid in the first round, right? That's what I do, okay? I say, draft the guy in the first round, hopefully he can be a franchise type of player, or he'd be really, really good, or maybe a starter. He checked all them boxes. Okay, could he be an all-pro? Yes. So when you ask him why he can't get paid, I'm trying to figure out, like, why not? I just think for all these different reasons of it's the team's fault is because, okay, so the Cowboys, last year they had a really, really good team. They didn't do much, right? This year they're not as good, but they're still good. But your best player on offense, it's not Dak Prescott. It's not. It's CeeDee Lamb. And if the quarterback is the most important position on the field, because we see other players, other quarterbacks get paid when they shouldn't get paid, we just asked the question yesterday, should Daniel Jones be benched before the season started? And they get him to do $80 million, huh? So it's funny when we talk about if guys should get paid when it's the other position other than the quarterback.
Sure.
All these teams, Trevor Lawrence, we never in the world ask questions, yo, should he be the highest paid quarterback in football?
Got a point.
Jordan Love, should he be the highest paid quarterback in football? No, we never asked him questions. But a guy like CeeDee Lamb, who's a top 3, top 4 player in the league, who does things you need as far as getting stats, winning games, being that difference maker in the game, you don't ask that question. So for you, my brother, it's really hurting me because you know ball, dog. You know ball. And it's hard to have a player like that and you don't pay.
Okay, let me ask. I got to ask DeSean Jackson.
Tell him, DJ.
A question. And it might be offensive, Jack. I mean no offense by it. It might be offensive. Because rarely do I have the opportunity, obviously I sit next to Shady McCoy every day, usually sitting next to James Jones, but rarely do I have the opportunity to ask the superstar player what I'm about to ask you. And as a person who was competing on for the 53rd spot on the roster, the person who was up and down, I always had this question of the superstars, Shady, of the superstars, Jack. America, here it is. Usually, once you pay a player superstar money after they hold out, you don't get the same production, personalizing it. 2010, DeSean Jackson was a superstar wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. He led the NFL with 22.5 yards per reception. DeSean Jackson stuck his claim as one of the greatest deep threats in the history of the National Football League at 22.5 yards per reception. He had 6 touchdowns, only played 14 games, had 1,056 yards. Fast forward, the year was 2011. DeSean Jackson held out. DeSean Jackson held out. He played in 15 games, more than he did the year before.
Okay, all right.
But he only had 956 yards. The year before, he played in 14 games, had 1,000 yards. Okay, he plays in more games, has less yards. He only had 4 touchdowns, but he played in more games and had less touchdowns. He only averaged 16.5 yards per reception, but the year before, he led the league with 22.5 yards per reception. So he held out. The Eagles paid him more, but he gave him less production. I'm confused.
I love it.
As a backup, I'm confused how the starter can hold out, demand Andy Reid, and it may have been Howie, it may not have been Howie, but demand more money, and then you give them less production. Explain if you are the Cowboys and or CeeDee Lamb, I think where the hesitation and the reservation comes into play is, wait a second, Jack, I've seen this before. I paid Zeke $95 million. It's still costing me, and he gave me less. So how can you be frustrated by the Cowboys given you've lived this, you've walked this, you've been this?
I love the point. I love the production. I think going back, if I can speed up time, right, throughout the period of point, right, where I was like, I've earned that money. I'm deserving to come in here and say, you know what, I can hold out. You know why? Because you guys promised me. A lot of things we might not know, these guys are promising these players. You know what? You did this production. You know we got incentives in here. We're going to make it right for you, right? So you tell a guy like this, right, that you're going to take care of him. And now I go out, I'm working. At any given time, one thing, injury. And it can be long-term. You always keep that in mind. And for me, it was like, do I go out there and put it on the line? Do I go to training camp? Do I bypass all these reasons to go out here and suffer a major injury? No, you know, because why? I want to get taken care of. I got my family at home. I got bills I got to get paid. So I think in time, that plays a part. It's almost like if you tell somebody something, like you got the kid, right? I got kids. I don't know if you got kids, right? But I'm going to give you a candy, and you never give that baby that candy. He's going to keep asking you all day till he wants that candy. So I feel like these teams and these general managers, they get in a position where they're telling these guys, we're going to pay you, and they never pay them in the time family.
Well said, well said, well said.
I like that.
2-5, do you at least understand or know to no degree Cowboys? Should they have any reservations? Should they have any reservations given that Ezekiel Elliott was a dude? He was a dude. He was a dude.
But
they paid Zeke, and he stopped being.
But this is the thing, though. Like, nothing's 100%.
Okay.
So I give a guy some money, right, and he may ball out like he's been balling out. Okay. I give some guy some money, he might not ball out no more like he used to ball out. Nothing's 100%.
Yeah.
But this is what I do know. If I ask you, why do ownerships pay players?
Because they're deserving of the money. They showed me something where I can say, you know what, he deserves that money. I'm going to pay him. So I lock up with the future.
So my thing is some of the money is from what I've done, right? From the jersey sales I've done, the notoriety I gave your team, right? Yeah. The success we did together, right? All that. Okay, the other part is what I'm going to do in the future. You can't sit here and tell me that a guy like CeeDee Lamb, if he's going to be a baller still because you paying him some money, you can't do that. The market is the market, and the game is the game. The system is the system. The system works. I play, you pay. That's how it works. And then if I play even better, you pay me even better. That's how it works.
The most dangerous sport, too. Injuries play a big part.
Come on, man.
Dave, I got a question. You said something that stuck with me, honestly, for since you said it yesterday's show, stuck with me for 24 hours. You reminded me of the story of 2019 when Ezekiel Elliott was holding out. After a preseason game, Jerry Jones goes to the presser and he says, Zeke, who?
That was wild.
When a journalist is asking him, and you were there, I believe, you were in the media scrum. They made T-shirts.
They made T-shirts.
Saying Zeke who? Saying Zeke who? That's crazy, but that's what CeeDee Lamb, I feel like, must feel like right now. Dave, at what point does CeeDee Lamb demand a trade? Like, should CeeDee Lamb go ahead and demand a trade? Lamar Jackson did it. Brandon Ayuk did it. Is this the next card you have to play?
If he was going to do it, I feel like he would have done it by now. And honestly, I don't think it's necessary in the case of CeeDee Lamb, because just keep this in mind. And I said it yesterday. I'll keep saying it. When it comes to the Cowboys and these major deals, we fill TV segments with it. We talk about it a lot. We write about it a lot. It gets done. The Cowboys pay their stars. That is the track record. It might take a lot of negotiation. It feels like pulling teeth, but Zeke did get his deal. Dak eventually got his deal. DeMarcus Lawrence got a couple of deals after fighting tooth and nail to get them from the Cowboys. They even made Zach Martin hold out for a deal. Zach Martin could go into the Hall of Fame today. That's how good he's been.
Yeah, nice.
Best guard of the last decade, and he had to fight for his deal, but he got it. And that's why I don't think CeeDee Lamb needs to do that. I also think CeeDee Lamb is probably smart enough to realize, and look, it's a different conversation whether they win in the playoffs. I get that. Low postseason success has eluded the Cowboys for a long time. But short of that, being a star in Dallas is a good thing. It is a lucrative thing. It is a visibility thing. Keep in mind, I'll speak to y'all. Y'all made a lot of money over the course of your careers. There's no state income tax in Texas.
Good point.
A lot of reasons. Look, regardless of whether they win anything in the postseason, I think Dallas is a top 5 destination for an NFL player for a lot of reasons. Keeping your money, being visible, more visible players go to more Pro Bowls and get named to more All-Pro teams, all that stuff. If you can have your choice, Dallas is one of the absolute top destinations where you want to be. It's a huge market. All your games are on national TV. You're going to do more endorsements. I don't think you need to ask for a trade unless you really, truly think they are just not going to pay you at all. And I'm telling you right now, they are going to pay CeeDee Lamb. I can't tell you why they're taking so long, but they'll pay him.
I think, let me oppose this question. I ain't going to ask Shady because I know how Shady feels.
About my money.
For these two gentlemen here. What is the problem? What's the holdup? Why don't we pay a CeeDee Lamb?
I wish I could tell you, man.
Dave, but we've said this before, Jack, and knowing enough about the Cowboys, my first job on television second job was with the Cowboys working with Dave Helman back in 2016 when they drafted Dak Prescott. Cowboys will pay their star players if their star players are willing to take right below market value. Think about it. Trayvon Diggs, he had 10 interceptions, y'all.
Right.
Last time we had seen 10 interceptions, I think, was 2020 Xavier Howard, but before that might have been Antonio Cromartie in, 2007.
Doesn't happen
He
often.
had 10 interceptions, and he didn't reset the market as the highest paid cornerback on an average annual value. He didn't do that. Tyron Smith, he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame more than likely. Probably the Cowboys' best left tackle, one of in the history of the franchise, one of the best left tackles in the 2010s, along with Joe Thomas, along with Trent Williams, along with Joe Staley, amongst others. And the Cowboys paid Tyron Smith, but he took a 7-year, $100 million. He took a team friendly deal. But Zeke, if you want to be the highest paid, nah, big dog, you're going to have to wait a second. So to me, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, CeeDee Lamb trying to get Justin Jefferson money, in my mind, is the primary holdup. If he was willing to take 33, jump A.J. Brown, stay below Justin Jefferson, I think the deal would have been done. I think it would have been done.
Why should he?
Why should he?
Because he's not as good as Justin Jefferson.
And
numbers are far off,
that doesn't matter for anybody else.
Right.
And
Let me
also
say
the
this,
numbers are
Dave.
close.
To CeeDee, you can't tell him that. I honestly feel like if you go tell him that you're not as good as Justin Jefferson, the argument is in the proof of pudding.
That's true. That's true. Jack has a good point.
The resumes are not that different.
So why not go reset the market? I'm getting paid after him. That's how it's supposed to work.
But Shady, you bring this up so brilliantly, so eloquently.
What I bring up?
You always talk about this. It's one of my favorite stories. You say, look, when it was time for me to go get my bread, Arian Foster, he was in the joint doing the thing. Matt Forte, he was one of them ones earlier on, and then Adrian Peterson, obviously. Shady says very humbly, look, I knew I was one of them ones. Yeah. But Adrian Peterson was the one. Yeah. Shady was like, look, I ain't no slouch. Don't get it twisted. I got more yards than Adrian Peterson from 2010 to 2019. I'll say it for LeSean McCoy. But Shady will say Adrian Peterson was the one. So I'm simply saying, CeeDee Lamb, of course you a dog. You one of them ones. But Justin Jefferson is currently public perception.
I got to get this. I was a top receiver, man.
Let the receiver talk.
I got to say this, man. At that point in time, you got to let that man get that off. As far as him, he's the guy right now, man. It was a lot of great receivers when I was playing, but at the end of the day, the market sets itself, and his time is due up. So it's not that much of a difference between a JJ and a CeeDee. Let's just be real. Let's cut the bull crap. These two guys are top guys in their position. Right. They're not that far off. Let's just keep it real.
But they're not that far off in numbers, or are they not that far off in tape? Because I believe in tape, I believe there's a difference.
Why does that matter? See, you know, this is what I said about the system being broke. We never asked this question about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence not even a top 10 guy. Is he top? Isn't it?
Come on,
Trevor Lawrence, they're not top 10 guys. But you gonna pay him right away. That's the thing that kills me and that drives me nuts because we talking about CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. You know how good them dudes are?
Crazy good. Yeah.
And we arguing back and forth if he should get paid or not. CeeDee Lamb is that dude. He should get paid at the top of the market. He should reset it. And the next guy should come up. That's like a guy like, for example, right? Tyreek Hill. We know how good he is. Mm-hmm. If he was up, would it be a question?
No.
Why? Because he's better?
Because some could suggest he's better than Justin
Jefferson. He is better, but Justin Jefferson's better than CeeDee Lamb, but it's still close. Do you get what I'm saying? But these other positions, it's not even as close. Another issue I have at the Adrian Peterson part, I got to be honest. For one, he was a first rounder, I was a second runner. So I could have fought that thing. I could have fought it more, but I wanted my money now. Your second contract should be your easiest contract. If you nice and we drafted you, we love you, we gonna pay you. That's why I'm so confused with the Cowboys, because you do got Micah Parsons coming up.
Yeah.
And Micah not about to be playing. He from Harrisburg, he from where I'm from. We ain't playing all that.
I can't wait.
We need our money right away. So my thing is, if Micah sits out, what you gonna tell him? Well, I mean, you're not as good as Miles Garrett. Yeah. We gonna have this conversation? Or you gonna pay the player like he's supposed to be paid?
Dave, let me ask you this.
I agree with you. That's absolutely gonna happen, by the way.
I don't think so.
They will find flaws in Micah's game. That's how these things go.
Can I ask you this? I'm sorry. Can I ask you this real quick? Because I think he's great. Because every team, and we went through this, they always try to find little stuff, but it'll be like a little pushback. But overall, like, I knew I was getting a deal. How you not gonna get your best player a deal?
Please don't yell at me. I
might.
Micah's amazing. Micah deserves to be, when he comes up,
the highest paid player in football.
The highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
But while we're doing this and we're filling TV segments and talking about it, people are going to be like, oh, but
I'm nervous.
Look at his sack numbers in December and January. Yeah. They fall off a little bit, which is accurate. But is that justification for not paying one of the most electric pass rushers in the NFL? Right? Absolutely
The segment
not.
was, so he finally say, trade me. Yeah. So my thing, if you feel like that, boss man, you know what I mean? Trade me, though. If you don't want to pay my value and you think JJ's way better and we shouldn't negotiate this contract, cool. Because right now, I think CeeDee Lamb wants to be a Cowboy, and he's showing the world that, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you gotta be a villain. You gotta be a villain. Yeah. You know that. So my thing is, okay, I'm not good enough for you. You want to pay my money? Trade me.
Somebody else will.
But here's my
Somebody else will. They're going to give him that money.
Here's my question. The perk of being a first-round pick is this. Your contract guaranteed, but there's a fifth-year option. Yeah. So, CeeDee, I'm sorry you were a first-round pick. That's so unfortunate for you that the Cowboys picked up your fifth-year option. We are speaking, and I don't know why we do this so often in the media, but I'm apologize on our behalf, at least on mine. We're speaking like CeeDee's not under contract. Cowboys are not robbing the man. He's a first-round pick, and because they made him a first-round pick, there's a fifth-year option. I'm saying this, 2-5. It's not like CeeDee Lamb isn't under contract. He's under contract.
He's underpaying his contract.
Underpaid.
That's true. That's true. That's very true.
Come on.
That's very true. But if he's set to make 18 this year, that's the curse and the blessing of being a first-round pick. Man. You weren't a first-round pick, so you didn't have that curse, nor did you have that blessing. You got your bread when it was time to get your bread.
So as far as paying people and workers their worth, that's all we want. So, like, for example, if I got a contract with somebody, right, and he's overdoing the contract, as the doing the right thing for my team. See, the one thing we forget about, it's a business, right?
Yep.
And for Jerry Jones' business, CeeDee Lamb as the employee does really, really good for his business, right? So, okay, why wouldn't I want to make this guy happy so he can continue making my business a lot better?
On another
you know what I'm saying?
You know as well as we do, the CBA has taken away so much player leverage.
1,000%.
Like, we're even at the point now where, depending on your contract, teams can't forgive your fines for holdouts. Like that, they have taken so much leverage. This is the only way that a player has to express his dissatisfaction. And he has far outplayed his salary, even as a first-round pick. Even though $18 million is a heck of a lot of money.
Is it?
I mean, it is not compared to the 35.
Come on, yeah.
Not compared to the 35.
My only issue, I need to borrow 3 more minutes of y'all's time, 3 more minutes of y'all's time before this quick commercial break. My only issue is, where do we draw the line? Brock Purdy outplayed his contract 8 games into his contract. Where do we draw the line? Jamar Chase outplayed his contract.
Purdy can't get a new deal until after this year.
But that is my point. Where do we draw? At what point? At what point do we draw the line?
Acho.
Jamar Chase has played 3 years, and he's doing what CeeDee Lamb is doing, who played 4 years. At what point is the line drawn? Of course, players outplay their contract. Shady outplayed his contract in his 2nd season when he led the NFL, I believe, in rushing touchdowns. Players outplayed their contract 3rd season. It happens. But at what point do you draw the line and say, hey, big dog, you're under contract?
I might meet you there for some player. Not for a player that has exceeded expectations from the day he stepped on the... I was there when CeeDee Lamb got drafted. I watched his first training camp. We had to socially distance. We had to watch it from 100 yards away because of COVID.
Yeah.
From the moment he got there, he balled.
Yeah.
He did it as a rookie. He played well without Dak Prescott because that was the year Dak got hurt. He did it again the year after that, and now he's back-to-back All-Pro. Why is this the guy you're trying to make that example of? Instead of saying, damn, we had high expectations for you, and you exceeded all of them. Maybe we should pay you.
Very well said.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.